I'm here in St. Augustine, Florida, only miles from the ocean. And I bet you'll be surprised to learn that potatoes are grown here. To share with us what it's like to be a potato grower here, we have Brian Jones, a chip potato grower from Riverdale Potato Farms, to show me around. Hey Brian, how you doing?
Great, man. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. So tell me a little bit about the history of your farm. Who started it? When did they start it?
So in the early 1950s, my grandfather and his brother started clearing land and originally grew greens for a local naval base.
Okay.
After a few years of that, they changed over to potatoes, and we've been potato farmers ever since.
And do they still work on the farm?
So my grandfather does not. My dad is still very active and owns the farm and hopes that one day that succession will continue on. I've got two children, Carter and Cameron, and if they want to continue farming, it'll be here for them. We're letting them ride in the tractors and starting to learn a little bit about it. They come out and help me check irrigation and drain pipe.
So they get to have the fun.
They get the fun part.
What do you and your family like to do when there's no work to be done?
We love being on the water. So whether it's the St. Johns River, whether it's heading out to the ocean and walking on the beach, if we can get out and play, that's what we're going to do.
All right, so what do you want to show me first?
It's harvest time, so I think we ought to check that out.
All right, show me.
All right. So this is a great look at how we harvest our potatoes. We run a 4-row harvester with field trucks that run right next to it. We're running about 1.5 miles, 2 miles an hour through the field and loading those trucks and getting the taters out of the ground.
And what kind of potatoes are you guys growing and what are they used for?
So everything here are gonna be the white chipping potatoes.
Oh.
So eat lots of chips. It's for my children, you know?
Nice. Probably the potato I eat the most.
That's wonderful.
So here it is May and you guys are harvesting. I'm gonna assume that's not typical for most other farmers around the US. When do you guys plant? What's your season like?
So we are a little different than most. Our planting season runs from January to the middle of June or so. Crops generally take between 90 and 120 days. By the middle of June, we want every potato gone.
Okay, I need you to tell me a little bit about these trucks because they seem military grade.
They actually are. They're early 80s model 5-ton military trucks. We get substantial rains down here sometimes. These guys can go anywhere they want. Put some potato bodies on them, and those are the trucks that we use to get the potatoes out of the field.
Okay, I picked these up on the way over because I noticed that they're a lot rounder and smaller than a russet, but also that the skin is really thin. Is that on purpose?
It is. So we want these to be a uniform round shape so that when they go to the chip plant, they are a uniform chip. The skin on these is also really thin on purpose. What happens is by the time they come out of that field and come up here, those potatoes start rubbing and they're touching. And by the time they get on that semi, most of that skin is going to come off so that when they get to the plant, they're ready to be sliced, diced, fried up, and in a bag of chips within 24 hours.
That's what's happening in there right now. A lot of grading, a lot of sorting.
That's right. The trucks that we saw in the field, they carry those potatoes up to the barn. We actually size them right away. The good potatoes that we're wanting on the trucks, we then wash. Those washed potatoes continue through the line. We've actually got a piece of equipment that has 62 cameras on it that within a split second decide what to do with it. Is it rotten? Is it good? And then it continues on down the line. We have scales that weigh out the potatoes as they're being loaded on the truck, send that truck on up the road to get in that bag of chips.
There's a lot of workers. Are these guys all local?
We do have a great local community here. These folks have been with us for 30 plus years. They come in, they help grade, they help sort, they help everything. It's an integral part to our system and we can't do it without them.
You mentioned that there's equipment that has 62 cameras, so I'm assuming technology must play a pretty big role.
Innovative technology has to be a part of your operation.
Yeah.
So we've got some irrigation technology, we've got some spore technology, and if you'd like, I'd love to show you some of that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, come on.
All right. So what am I looking at here?
So this is a dual purpose piece of technology that we've got. It's a weather station that helps us identify the rain amounts we've been getting, but it also, more importantly, collects spores for us. So anything that's floating around in the air, we're able to collect those spores and identify issues weeks before they show up on the plant. It allows us to better counteract any issues that might happen way in advance. We want to be preventative instead of curative on our crop. It's not just the weather stations or the spore collectors. We do a lot with irrigation here. What we're trying to do is irrigate less, but still keeping that water table exactly where it needs to be. So we now have subsurface irrigation, which allows us to raise and lower that water table exactly where it needs to be. We also have fertilizer equipment, and instead of spreading it 60 feet at a time, we now drop it 6 inches right above the plant so we can then wrap that fertilizer up and put it exactly where the plant needs to uptake it. All of those innovations are so that our nutrients don't leave our soils, so we can protect this beautiful river that we have 100 yards away from our farm.
Considering all of that, what makes this region so ideal for growing your potatoes?
We've got great soil. It's a sandy loam soil, so it irrigates very well. And our heavier rains, it'll allow that water to get away as well. You know, it's just a great area temperature-wise, and soil conditions make it idyllic.
And what about challenges?
Oh, there's plenty of challenges. I mean, that's why we have to be innovative with what we're doing so that we have this land for generations to come. Something that we're facing here is urban development. So we've got encroachment coming every day. The pressures that we face are not getting less, they're getting more. But that's something that farmers overcome every day. We know how to face adversity and keep trucking on. We have to put food on your table, on my table, to feed the world.
And I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Brian, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for showing me around, letting me know what it's like to be you.
Absolutely. Well, please come back and see us anytime.
Thank you so much.